Capital Views is sponsored by Northrim Bank, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, ConocoPhillips, and Linden.
Hi, I'm Tim Bradner. Welcome to Capital Views. And welcome today to Sandra Moller, the Director of the Division of Community and Regional Affairs. Thanks for joining us, Sandra.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Sandra, your agency handles technical assistance for small municipalities, small communities around Alaska. And it's a very traditional, long-standing function of state government. But one of the more interesting and challenging things you're involved in right now is all of the sewer and water, rural sanitation money that we have flowing through Alaska, so to speak. Uh,
hmm
you're working with communities and providing technical assistance and their ability to manage these funds and take advantage of the opportunities. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. DCRA is one of the only agencies in the state that's mentioned in the Constitution. Our mandate is to advise and assist communities, and that includes for water and sewer. We do a variety of ways that we help communities. In the water and sewer utility, with the federal funding coming in, there's going to be a lot of ability to meet the needs of some of the rural places that haven't been served or are underserved. And so it's been a process. It's been over a year, and we've been working with all the agencies, including environmental health, and with ANTHC, the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, who works in conjunction with DEC to get facilities constructed and operated. The role of DCRA is to provide training. We have about 12 different trainings throughout the year. They're 3 days to a week. Some are video. But what that's really trying to do is we assess where a community is on their what's called best practices, and we assign under the financial and managerial aspects things like, do they have a budget? Have they paid their federal taxes? A managerial is, have they had regular meetings? Do they have minutes? Have they done their elections properly, et cetera? So we try to look at each community, assess their gaps, and then provide training to them as they might need it.
So, Sandra, is a passing score necessary to get to federal funds, or how does that work? And if somebody doesn't qualify, do you have a way of helping them make up and to take advantage of the money?
Well, that's an interesting concept because we all want these rural communities to have sufficient water and sewer sanitation, and it's a complex formula. Right now, for the federal side of it, to get those funds, there are no minimum scores. DEC has maintained, and we've worked with them to have either a minimum score of 35 if they're having a washateria, and then a 60 score minimum for any piped water and sewer. Although today, breaking news, DEC is re-looking at that and has come up with an approach that they will not need to do have minimum scores for best practices to free up funding for the CIP, which is the main part of the state funding that provides match, if you will, to the federal funds that are going to be there. So that's a large difference that just came out today, and I think that's in the best interest of the communities. Now, that being said, we at DCRA still want to assess where communities need help and to tailor our training so that they get the best ability to operate and maintain their facility, because that's the end goal for everybody.
And Sandra, to the training, does this involve actually operators, hands-on training?
Well, that's where we split with DEC. DEC handles the remote maintenance workers and the certified water and sewer operators. They do all the technical part because they're the environmental conservation. They're the ones that handle water regulation through the Safe Drinking Water Act, and we handle kind of the management and the financial part of it.
But there's a requirement also that communities have to be able to pay the O&M cost of the facilities too?
Yeah, and that's, to me, is the biggest thing we need to all be looking at. Is it's great to have funding to build the system, and we need to be able to ensure that when water treatment, they have enough of the materials, valves, filter material, chemicals, whatever they need to operate their system. And that is going to be the challenge. Typically, when you do a project, you look at what the estimated cost per month would be, and you would divide the total cost by the number of households or the number of service lines. And that DEC has done an initial look at that, and they are from some pretty high costs for utilities. Of course, that can be a lot of the cost is energy and labor. So there's some opportunities to look at those to see if there's ways that we can reduce those costs.
The the energy costs, particularly, communities are still on diesel. A lot of these communities,
Hmm.
that's a factor that is a little bit out of people's control.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think some groups are doing some bulk orders for diesel fuel. We found also that a large, not just the electric cost, but the home heating cost is in rural communities is a big challenge. So running a new facility that a water or sewer plant might be is just another burden that would add on to their power system as they need it. But yeah, energy is like all of Alaska is very challenging in some.
yeah. And Sandra, maybe you could give us some examples of what size of communities we're talking about. What would be, and maybe example of a particularly challenging construction project underway now.
I can't speak to the under construction now part, but we have communities that maybe there's 50 people at a community. So, you operate a plant and you can size them to the right the population, but at the same time, you have the sunk costs of doing the foundation, the power, the power to go into the facility to operate it. You can only size it down so small. So those costs are already going to be kind of at a base. So spreading it over a smaller community size is where you get those really high costs per service. That can be a problem.
And again, the construction costs can be in the form of grants, but
Yeah,
the
there's a variety of different tools that we've used to help communities build, federal and state combined, to get the project going.
yeah. The operation cost is on the community though.
Yes, for
Well,
sure.
challenging times, so that you have a lot of work ahead of you.
Hmm.
But anyway, thank you for joining us, Sandra.
You're very welcome. Thank you.